Year-end inventory valuation cleanup. There really is no year-end closing that has to be done in MaxxTraxx. The income and expense report and balance sheet simply look at all the transactions within the date range you enter for your fiscal year, and the resulting reports total all of the transactions in that date range to produce financials for your business. However, there are two audits, as we call them, that need to be performed dated within your fiscal year to reflect an accurate inventory and cost of goods sold accounting. These audits are in the areas of parts and sublets. Let's take a look at the trial balance to start. From the menu bar, click Accounting and select Chart of Accounts. Click the Print Trial Balance button down here. We'll let this report run through the end of the month and click OK. Now a quick recap. When parts or sublets are purchased and the vendor invoice is posted in MaxxTraxx, the amount of the purchase posts to 13,000 inventory parts for parts or 13,300 inventory sublet labor for those sublet purchases. Once the parts and sublet labors are sold to a customer on an invoice and that invoice is paid and posted, MaxxTraxx moves the cost of those parts and sublets from these inventory accounts to these cost of goods sold accounts, 50,000 and 50,300. For the inventory parts account, we can get a bit off on our inventory calculation by closing out a repair order with a low stock warning, that red circle and slash on the repair order, possibly moving the wrong amount of inventory valuation to the cost of goods sold parts account. For the sublets, we may purchase a sublet labor. Let's say we sublet a tow, but actually don't charge the customer for that tow since we might have had a warranty come back on their vehicle. So some of the sublets that collect in this inventory sublets account never get moved to the cost of goods sold sublets. Even if we don't charge the customer, that tow bill is a legitimate cost of us doing business. So what do we do? At the end of the year, simply run a parts valuation report and ensure the total parts valuation equals this amount here in the 13,000 account. So let's say in this example, we have $1,705.78 on our trial balance. Let's close and close. Then click on the Reports icon on the toolbar. Click Inventory for our category and Inventory Valuation for our report, and click the Run Report button. This opens the Inventory Valuation Report filter, and we'll leave it on Summary for all parts, manufacturers, and categories, and click OK. This is looking at each individual part record in MaxxTraxx and multiplying the quantity on hand times the average cost. And our report says $1,731.80. So we're off by $26.02. If I had a negative here, I would take that $1,731.80 minus the negative to get my valuation total, but I don't have a negative. And that would just represent a part record with the negative amount on hand to be deducted from the valuation total. So next, we would make a general journal entry to get our inventory parts account on the general ledger to match our parts valuation report. Let's close and close. Remember, we don't use general journal entries in MaxxTraxx except for entering beginning balances, like if we bought some shop equipment and needed to enter the equipment value and the loan on our general ledger, and for end of the year cleanup like this, and depreciation entries from your accountant. Click Accounting on the menu bar again, and select Create General Journal Entry. Enter the date of your transaction, which should be the last day of your fiscal year, and enter a description to remind you what you did here. I'd put in Inventory Valuation Adjustment. Click the Add button in the lower left and enter the Inventory Valuation account, $13,000, and hit the Tab key. And enter the amount needed to correct this account. We have to increase our valuation here $26.02 to match the report. And it could easily be a decrease. And click OK. Click Add again for the other side of the transaction and enter $50,000 and tab. So we're taking a little bit from our cost of goods sold parts because our average cost on our posted invoices was off just a little bit, taking $26.02 too much from our inventory valuation. And click OK. And post and close. That's it. I do also recommend taking a physical inventory right before the end of the year so you get the tax benefit of inventory adjustments for missing or broken parts, which similarly will move value from this inventory valuation account to your inventory adjustments account, which is a cost of goods sold account, automatically when you post those physical inventory counts. And last, let's look at the chart of accounts again to view our sublet purchases. Click Accounting on the menu bar and select Chart of Accounts again, and double-click on the 13,300 account to view our sublet transactions. Now we don't have a sublet labor record like we have for our parts purchases that we could run a report on to make sure those sublets match this account. MaxxTraxx just tracks sublet purchases as an inventory item similar to parts purchases for two reasons. One, to prompt the user to create a purchase order and enter the purchase in MaxxTraxx. And two, to give the user visibility into whether sublets are getting billed out to customers or not. As you can see here, a sublet is purchased in the debit column and then sold in the credit column. This $12 sublet is bought on vendor invoice 11585646 and sold on RO 10,010, and so on, 75. And two sublets for $350 and $24 are sold on one RO 10,016. However, let's look at this $600 purchase. I'll double click on this line to see the detail, and this was a $600 tow sublet from Bill's Towing. And that was for a heavy truck that we worked on that we had to tow back to the shop from another county. This would be an example of a sublet that we know we're not going to charge the customer. So let's cancel. And since I know I'm not going to sell this sublet, creating a credit here, I need to do a general journal entry to manually move this sublet valuation to cost of goods sold. Let's close, and again, accounting, create general journal entry, and date the last day of your fiscal year or whenever you're auditing this account. Some shops do this monthly or quarterly. For the description, I'd put sublet valuation adjustment, like I did for the parts, and click Add. 13,300 and tab. And this time we are decreasing the amount in the sublet valuation because I know I'm never going to bill out that sublet for that tow to that customer, which would decrease this account amount for me when I posted that RO. Click OK and Add again. So I enter 50,300 for cost of goods sold sublet. And this will increase my cost of goods sold, which is part of the cost of doing that heavy truck's $7,000 automatic transmission job. Click Post and Close. Let's go back and look at our trial balance now. Accounting, Chart of Accounts, and Print Trial Balance. I'm going to include accounts with no balances now with this check mark. Now look, our trial balance for inventory part says $1,731.80, which now matches our actual inventory valuation report. And the inventory sublets balance is 0. Two more points I'd like to make about these year-end adjustments. Make sure you check your trial balance in the 13,000 account, run that inventory valuation report right away, and then make your general journal entry before anyone posts anything else in MaxxTraxx that could affect this account balance and that valuation report. And for the sublets, you may end up leaving an amount here if you've just recently purchased a sublet or two and still plan on billing those sublets out. So no need to completely credit out this $13,300 account balance. Once the RO is posted, that sublet labor amount gets moved to the cost of goods sold sublet account for you automatically. So just do an adjustment for the sublet purchases that are either really old, or if you look at each individual purchase, you know that it won't ever be billed out. There are several accounts on the general ledger that may need to be audited or verified from time to time, but that's up to each shop owner's own discretion. These two inventory accounts are designed to be verified and adjusted to the cost of goods sold accounts on a regular basis to maintain an accurate and reliable income and expense report and balance sheet. And this concludes the lesson on year-end inventory valuation cleanup.